Hello there, my name's Mark Roberts. I'm a recording engineer, producer, mixer. I'm based in Brighton in the UK. I work in all kinds of genres, but predominantly the sort of rock, alternative, punk, metal type thing. I'm here today to have a chat with you about what a professional mixing engineer can do for your music. Okay, so I guess the first thing we should talk about is what a professional mixing engineer can do for your tracks, for your music, and also have a think about when the right time to hire such a person actually is. So with a professional mixing engineer, they're obviously doing this stuff day in, day out. And the reason this is important is that mixing in context of the whole record production process, I liken to playing an instrument. And this is in the sense that I think compared to engineering and recording, it takes longer to learn and it requires practice. It's like a muscle that needs to be exercised, okay? So the reason I say this is important to talk about is that one of the scenarios where you might want to hire a professional mixing engineer is when you're self-producing. So you're recording your own band, you're recording your solo stuff or whatever. And you've perhaps got it to a level where your engineering chops are getting good, you're happy with the results. But when it comes to mix time, it's just not quite standing up to commercial level mixes. So this is a perfect time to think about hiring a professional mixing engineer and seeing what they can do with it. Another scenario, I guess, might be you've recorded in a studio and you just haven't quite got the results that you wanted out of it. And this might be due to budget and lack of time, or perhaps the mixing engineer just didn't quite get what you were after. So presuming you can get hold of those raw tracks, that's a really good reason as well to let another person have a go at it. Also, letting someone else have a go with your tracks is a fresh set of ears. So this is really important because you've been living with your music right from the writing stage all through the production and recording stage. So you lose a certain amount of impartiality, and you also get used to things that are maybe detrimental to your, particularly with the mixing and things that should be hitting you in the face, but you've just got so used to them. So this impartiality is also super important. Right then, so you found yourself in one of these scenarios and you're thinking, yeah, I'm gonna get myself a pro mixer. But understandably, your first thought is probably, I don't have the money. I can't afford to get my whole EP or my album remixed or mixed. And that's fair enough. But maybe you have the money to do just a single or just 2 singles, say. These things don't cost as much as you might think. I don't know how much you might think, but I think a lot of people would be surprised at how little you can get it done for. Now, don't get me wrong, you can go and spend thousands on one song. I'm sure you can. But a lot of mixing engineers that are really on their game and stuff that you're perhaps listening to and some of your contemporaries or whatever are using might well be within your reach. So why not actually talk to some of these people and find out what their costs are? Some engineers, including myself, offer different rates for unsigned artists. I do a day rate for unsigned artists and it's £200 a day. And I might be able to mix, depending on your genre of your track, I might be able to do a whole track in a day or even more in some cases. So especially if you're in a band, between you, that isn't a huge amount of money and you're going to see your song in a different light. You're not taking a huge risk and throwing a load of money at an EP or an album. If it doesn't work out, it's not the end of the world. But you get to hear this one song with a fresh pair of ears and a really good mix. So for argument's sake, we're going to say that you've decided to get this one track remixed. You want an amazing mix of this one song. The next thing to do is some research. So listen to lots of music that relates to the genre that you want to get mixed, and sort of try and narrow it down to some mixes that you really like. You don't need to think of it locally. In this day and age, they can be anywhere really. So find out who these mixers are that are doing these great mixes, and then narrow it down to say 2 or 3, and then just reach out to them and you can ask them for a quote. When you're reaching out to them, you send this initial email. There are a few things to bear in mind, and I can say this as someone who's been on the other side of that email quite a lot. Number 1, make it to the point. You want to say who you are as a band and introduce yourself, obviously, but they don't need a full bio. Just a quick introduction, perhaps a link to your Facebook or whatever you think's the best kind of thing to help them see who you are as a band. And then, really importantly, obviously the track. So this will probably be the working mix that you have if you're mixing it, or the mix that you're not quite happy with. If it's a mix that you're not quite happy with, you could perhaps say very briefly what you're not keen on about it, but this is maybe further on in the conversation. Then, and this is something that a lot of people wouldn't think to do, but I think this is a good idea. Send a link along with this track to, say, a Dropbox or a Google Drive that's got the separate tracks in it. This is really important in terms of, this is usually the follow-up email, okay? So people normally send me the thing, I have a listen, and I'm like, cool, can I have a listen to the separate tracks? So you can preempt this. You can either include the session, but not with any plugins or anything. You don't get self-conscious about your mix. They just want to hear the raw tracks. So you could send a blank session to them, but even better, I think, just send a folder with all the files in and make sure they're consolidated so that whatever DAW they have, they can load it in and hear what's going on. The reason for this is if they want to give you a quote, they need to know what they're letting themselves in for. So if it's me, I want to hear the kind of quality of the recording, how much instrumentation and things there are, and also look out for any issues as well. So this will help me decide how long it's going to take, and that's the main thing. But also I could flag up anything like this is clipping, or you really want to think about redoing this little bit if it's not too much trouble, that kind of thing. So yeah, that's my advice for getting in touch. Keep it short and to the point. They need to get the key bits of information and want to know what you want to get from the track. And then with the follow-ups and stuff, you can start talking a little bit about money. And then a really important one is thinking about your time scale. So if you've got a release schedule or something like that, you need to make sure that this guy or girl can fit in with your release schedule. So yeah, get a really good idea of time scale as well as budget, and then see what they can do for you. It might be the best decision you've made for a while. Right, so what I thought would be cool is if I actually showed you a mix I'm currently working on, just to give you a bit of context. This very much falls into the scenario we're talking about. So this is a song called Cold Hands. It's by a band called Kelos. They're kind of instrumental metal band, and they've self-produced this. Already sounds really good. All the ingredients are there, and they were pretty happy, I think, with the mix that they've already done, but just wanted to see if I could take it up a notch. So let's have a listen to what I was sent. This is their mix, just a little snippet here. Okay, and here's where I'm at with it so far. Okay, let's just have listen to another riff. Here we go. Okay, and again, here's my mix so far. There we go. So I've still got a little bit of tweaking to do and stuff, but hopefully that kind of shows you what can be done with something that's nearly there, just taking it over the post. Cool, so I hope you found that interesting and it's given you some food for thought. Thanks so much for watching. I've been Mark Roberts. Cheers.